When you start earning your first salary or your first bits of money, you don't understand what you have to do with that. When the money started flowing into my bank account, I didn't have any control over that. That's where I realized that there's something I'm doing wrong. I am living a good life, but it's a life which is not very balanced. You need somebody to guide you a little because you're still in your early 20s. And at that time, my dad let me do what I wanted to do for the first 3 months. After which he just asked me a question: what money do you have in your bank account currently? When I actually looked into it, I was left with $37.
How has it benefited you ever since you joined the club?
So by profession, I'm a chartered accountant. I'm always someone who's hungry for knowledge, which I can pass on to a lot of people. I had knowledge of stock markets, I had knowledge of managing finances, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge of that. Was the first thing which made me join the 1% club.
Do you have a particular age in mind by which you plan on retiring?
I believe one should never retire. For example, I have a target of 45 just because we have to put a number here. It's just at the back of my mind, I realized that I'm financially free.
How people in the US spend their money and looked at it and managed it versus now that you're back in India.
Now, there are 2-3 aspects in this.
Hi Rinit, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Daria?
All good. Why don't we start with knowing a bit more about your background, your journey, and what are you currently doing?
So by profession, I'm a chartered accountant. I finished my chartered accountancy a few years back, after which I moved to the US. I wanted to study there for a year, and then I happened to work there, and then I rejoined my dad's business, which I was doing for a few years of articleship before I completed my CA program. And that was the goal. I wanted to go abroad for a few years just for the experience, just to meet people from different walks of life, to have a different experience, which was only possible abroad, where I can meet different people and see different cultures, different backgrounds. So that was a wonderful experience. And I came back, rejoined my dad. He's also a chartered accountant. It's just that we handle different fields. He's more into audit and accounting, and I'm more into taxation and investment planning. So that is my area of interest.
Great. When it comes to money, Rinit, what is your relationship with money? How do you look at it and perceive it? And what has changed and shifted after joining the 1% club when it comes to looking at your money and investing it?
That's a very nice question for me. Being from the finance background and being a chartered accountant myself, people associate that I should be good with handling money. That was not the case.
I think I'm glad you shared that.
That is just not the case. I can share an example practically what happened with me when I was in the US and when I started working post my education. When you start earning your first salary or your first bits of money, you don't understand what you have to do with that.
True.
So when the money started flowing into my bank account, I didn't have any control over that. I would travel. I would, go around all around America. I would travel to Brazil, Canada. So I would splurge. I would have that kind of a lifestyle for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
So at that time, you need somebody to guide you a little because you're still in your early 20s. And at that time, my dad let me do what I wanted to do for the first 3 months. After which he just asked me a question that you've been 3 months working. I'm sure that you're in a good paying job because that's why you've traveled so many countries and you've been able to take that many leaves. What money do you have in your bank account currently? Which is a very personal question, but when I actually looked into it, irrespective of the amount of money I earned for 3 months, I was left with $37. That's where I realized that there's something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
I am living a good life, but it's a life which is not very balanced.
True.
So from that day on, it's not that I changed a lot in my life. I just started first prioritizing investing and saving, and then leaving the rest for my spending. If I want to travel, I don't travel once a month. I travel once in 3 months because there the lifestyle is a little different. So here the travels could be a little more frequent, maybe internally in America. So that is a philosophy and a discipline which I maintained for the last few years since the first 3-4 months of experience which I had. I saw this particular difference that also they are much ahead of the curve in terms of digitalization. Like they don't have cash. If you ask them for $20, they don't have cash in hand. But we here as Indians, we just like to have some kind of cash in our hands. Now that is also slowly changing as we see more credit cards, UPI transactions. There it is much more like, I think 95 or 99% of the transactions are all through, digital, credit cards or UPIs or stuff like that. So we are moving in that direction. We need to pick the positives. We need to take out the negatives. We can't, overspend on credit cards, which I've seen a lot happening over there. We need to be we need to be more controlled. We need to be much more thoughtful in that. But of course, we can learn a few things from them, like their mindset. We need to be less risk averse. It's not that investing in stocks or mutual funds is risky. It's just that the time period which you have to invest, you have to just give that amount of time. Like I said, fast money can go fast quickly.
Yeah.
So,
you can't be impatient.
Yeah, you can't be
money.
impatient. You have to come with discipline, and you have to come with patience.
True.
These two will be the hallmark for making money in the long term.
Lovely. And the fact that you're a chartered accountant yourself, Rinit, it's not like you were averse from most of the basic financial concepts, fundamentals, principles, and also investing regimes that you should be following.
Correct.
Why is it that you still thought that 1% Club should be a platform I should be a part of? Probably what intrigued your mind to know more, and how has it benefited you ever since you joined the club?
Again, a very nice question, and a lot of people might also end up asking me the same, that you already have a lot of knowledge in terms of finances and the rest of it. But I saw it as a medium to get all of the news around the world in one platform where I can be updated with the latest news. I get knowledge which is more than what I currently have. I'm always someone who's hungry for knowledge, which I can pass on to a lot of people. So I had knowledge of stock markets, I had knowledge of managing finances, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge of credit cards, for example. So that's something I was eager to learn. That is there something I don't know? Because I'm someone who quite often. So can I use it in a more efficient way? That was the first thing which made me join the 1% Club. And then networking, high level networking, meeting like-minded people who also are in the same boat as you, maybe not so much in terms of knowledge, maybe some more in terms of knowledge, but you also meet people who are eager to learn something and progress in their life financially. So that's a good platform to be and have like-minded people who have a certain goal in life.
Lovely. I'm sure, and I am happy to know that credit cards was one area probably that you were very inquisitive about, and you didn't have that much knowledge around. So tell me a little bit more about what were some myths around credit cards that got busted after you joined the community, and how have you been leveraging them personally?
So people have this perception that credit cards are bad for your financial health because it could get you into debt, it could get you into a vicious credit cycle.
It's a trap is what most people think.
Yeah, that's what most people think about it. You have to have control over yourself. That's number one. I always tell anybody, whether it's friends or family, that before getting a credit card, it's not a license to spend how much ever you want. I've done that for a couple of months, like I said, in the US. I used credit cards there, but I used it in a more efficient way.
Okay.
But what is the meaning of efficiency? That is what I learned at the 1% Club. I would spend on my credit cards in the US. I spend here as well, but I never knew in what way to actually monetize that, so to speak. So now I'm a little more aware of what card should be used for what particular expense. Before this, it was just like swiping any expense on any card without having much knowledge about it. So now it's much more informed spending, I would say.
Very interesting. How many credit cards do you hold at the moment? And if you could name a few, and where all are you being able to leverage the points specifically? I know you told me it's in dining and travel, etc. But just a few examples and a few names, please.
So I think I have around 5 to 6 credit cards, but 2 that I used basically the most. It's like 99% of my spends are on those cards, and that actually happened because of taking a masterclass from Ali, learning a bit more about what I can use my spends wisely in what card. So basically I use 2 credit cards for most of my expenses. One is the Access Atlas, one is the American Express Platinum Travel.
Lovely.
So both of them are pretty much travel based cards.
So
when I'm traveling abroad or when I'm staying at any hotel here, so I use the Access Atlas. I amass a certain number of points there. I amass a certain number of points in the Amex, and then I usually transfer it to Marriott, which is on the Amex, and on Atlas I transfer it to Accor. Those are 2 properties. Those are 2
nice,
most rewarding transfers you can do on these 2 cards particularly. So because I stay at these properties a couple of nights a year, so it helps me monetize that. As of now, I've already redeemed 1 of my Marriott stays, and I have points lying there which I'll, when I have a little more time on my hands, I'll probably use those points.
That's great. It's good to see that you've been able to utilize it and monetize, the points in the right manner.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what you think is also the right way going forward. Now that you have 5 to 6 credit cards already, you're utilizing it for your own usage and needs. Do you see yourself also picking on more credit cards in the future for specific needs? Because like you said, every credit card has a different utility. And how is it that you'll go about making that decision with time?
See, I think it's important to track a lot of credit cards also. It's just not the number which is important. You have to, it depends person to person.
True.
For me, it's travel. For somebody else, it could be shopping. For somebody else, it could be groceries. So it depends person to person. What kind of credit card do you want? Right now, I feel perfectly fine with the 2 credit cards I have. It is satisfying all of the requirements I have as of now currently. If tomorrow some better credit card just shows up, probably I will take up that as an option and just see if that adds value to my current lifestyle. If it doesn't, I have no such habit of just taking additional credit cards just for no reason.
Right.
It's better to have lesser but have better.
And you also feel that the annual fee that you have to pay for most of these premium credit cards, do you think you at least get that back and it is worth the investment, given the rewards and benefits and leveraging it the right way?
Yeah, so currently the 2 cards I have, they outweigh the annual
they
fees
do? Okay.
I pay on them. It's not that high also. So for somebody like me who has that amount of spends, I think it becomes very minimal or literally something which doesn't matter so much, because now that I know that the points I get in return for spending that annual fee is more than enough for getting a night at a Marriott property or an Accor hotel.
Yeah.
It's just about now having that knowledge about what you do with those points. If you take a statement credit, then it's of no use. Or if you transfer it to a partner which doesn't give you that much back, then it doesn't make sense. You have to just know which is the best transfer option for that particular card. And once you know that, I think it's not so hard to decide on what credit card you want once you have the knowledge of what you spend mostly on.
Great. When it comes to, your financial goals, Rinit, do you have a particular age in mind by which you plan on retiring, or do you really want to retire early, if at all? And what's your thought process behind it, and what steps are you taking to ensure you're able to achieve that goal?
I have 2 aspects in this. I'm not somebody who has a particular age in mind when I want to reach my goal at. The earlier the better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that if I reach that goal at 40. For example, I have a target of 45 just because we have to put a number here.
Yeah.
If I reach it by 35 or 40, it's not that I stop working. It's just at the back of my mind, I realize that I'm financially free, which gives me mentally a lot of peace that, okay, I've achieved my goal, partly because of starting early, partly because of discipline. So 2 things which really, really matter a lot.
True.
And I believe one should never retire as such, because I've seen live examples in my life where I've seen 2 people who have crossed 70, one who's retired, one who's still, very, very active in their business. I think you age a lot quicker if you just sit at home. Yeah. Mentally retiring is something different, which means that you know that you are safe and sound even if you stop working today. But I think you should always keep working. It's just that, it's important to be financially free in your mind. I think that stress gone away from you will add a few years to your life later in life. That's what I believe. So it's good to achieve your goals earlier, like as we speak at the FIRE number or your what you target. But I think until your body allows you should always be active. Be active is what I would say. Yeah.
Great. Any particular financial habits, regimes or routines, or certain things that you're sticking to on a periodic basis, which you think will help you achieve this earlier, if at all, right? Or at least by the age that you have in mind.
So, like I said, I stay with my parents. I've been lucky to have that shelter.
Right.
So what happens is with the income I earn, it's much more easier for me, in my personal example, to invest, let's say 75% of that money into shares, mutual funds, gold, different kinds of investments, like a proper good diversification. So that allows me to reach my goals a little earlier.
Right.
So that's a habit I'm trying, or a discipline which I'm keeping in my life for how much ever longer I can sustain that.
Right.
Having that portion just go to investments, and then the rest for traveling, going out with friends, just your normal stuff that you do to maintain your lifestyle. But that is a discipline which I have started since I came back from the US. 75% of my money, because I can do that, I push that in all different kinds of investments, a little diversified, so that
Got it.
when there's volatility, you still have cover in different asset classes.
Right. Any particular financial mistake that comes to your mind, apart from the fact that you obviously splurged a lot of your money early on when your early salaries came in, that you can recall that probably taught you a very important money lesson early on, and also something that you've probably learned apart from the credit cards bit, being a part of the community where there's been like a shift around how wealth creation is possible, right? Even though most Indians feel that just making money or being wealthy or rich is a thing for very few people, right? Because in India as a country, we just believe that कुछ लोगों को ही मिलता है and not everybody is meant for it also, और आपको इतनी easily नहीं मिल सकती wealth, right? So how has that shift happened and how do you look at it now that you're a part of the...
So there, sometimes you start earning money at the start, but then you end up losing double, triple of that.
Yeah.
So that's something which I understood very quickly, that making fast money is not the way to go, because the quantum you can lose is sometimes beyond people's abilities to pay back, and that can get you into a big financial trap. Luckily, the quantum was big for me, but not big enough to, I read this saying somewhere that you can make mistakes, but don't make mistakes so wrong that, it can pretty much, that you can't undo and you can't recover from.
True.
So, everybody makes their own share of mistakes, but the quantum is also important. So that's one. FNO, no FNO, and no unnecessary splurging. So these are two big financial hits I have taken in life, and learned a lot from it. So it's important to learn also from that. Yeah. You require a change of mentality first of all. As soon as I came back from the US, I started investing again in stocks. I already had a few, and I went to FNO. It's important to first look at yourself rather than comparing yourself to anyone, because that just wastes time and won't get you anywhere. That's what I believe. There was a time in my life where I would also look at people and want to be like them, but it's just a waste of time. You have to actually try to do what is best possible for you. When it comes to rich and wealthy, I always say this, that it's not necessary that a rich is wealthy, but it's very important to be wealthy, and wealthy is something you can do early on in your life. Whether you're earning 2,000 rupees, whether you're earning 2 lakh rupees, you can start small, but starting early is the key. Once you start early, I think people can't even imagine the amount of money or wealth they can amass in 30 years by just stepping up once their salary.
It's an unfair advantage, right?
The earlier you start, the better. Once you start earning, I think that's the first thing you should do is just start, investing, because that's where you'll make your real wealth and you'll be financially free. So,
Rinit, I'm sure that you would have obviously had a very different experience and a great one studying in the US. The culture in the West obviously is very different in all aspects of life, but also when it comes to money, how they treat their finances and the mindset. Tell me, what did you see as certain points which were starkly different in how people in the US spend their money and looked at it and managed it versus now that you're back in India?
Now, there are 2-3 aspects in this. That was one of the reasons I wanted to go abroad, to just see what are the differences in two countries. I think the difference, first of all, is that there's a spending culture there and there's a saving culture here, and that is because of the age-old thinking here that we need to save money, which is absolutely important. There, it's more of a spending culture. They also save, but not as much as how it is ingrained in us. The difference is their mindset is different. Our mindset is different. When we think of saving or investing, we've been taught that invest money in FDs, invest money in, let's say, gold, real estate, the age-old thinking. We're still very risk averse. That's what I'll say. So that's why stock markets are a little looked down upon. But now that thing is changing, according to me. Now with the record number of SIPs which are going in every month, I think that shift is happening. But we are still very, very long away from what, let's say, the US is doing. They are already at 55, 60, 70, 80% of people who invest in stock markets and financial instruments. Here we are still in the teens, or I think in the lower single digits. So there's a lot of potential here. It's just that the mindset needs to change. The vision needs to change, which means that you have to just hold it out for a little longer, invest in good quality companies. I think India is growing like crazy. Not many countries can. So it is a place where a lot of people should actually focus on that.
Great. When it comes to your experience at the 1% Club, why do you think in general, right, let's say a person from any background, age group, etc., should be a part of the community, right? How do you think is it going to benefit them overall, right? So if you could just share your experience and how you think it could help other folks.
I'm actually looking at this very, very long term. So when I joined the 1% Club, I didn't join it to finish all the courses and, get information about credit cards or attend different webinars. I think this is only going to grow month on month, year on year. And I think this will be a one-stop shop platform where you'll get all of your financial needs, car insurance, information about credit cards, updated news, webinars. So you'll learn a lot from it. And for the people who are new to finance, I think it gives you a nice start because there are modules or there are courses where you can actually learn a lot just from the basics of finance. Now, for me, it's a little more easier because I come with that background.
Right.
But for a lot of people who are just starting off, I think it's important to have knowledge of finance. You might not be from that field, but I think it's a field you should have knowledge about because it'll, in whatever field, in whatever walk of life you are, I think it'll really help you build wealth and plan well. So that is one of the biggest reasons I tell people. You might be in different businesses. It can be trading, you can be in stock markets, you can be in multiple different businesses. But having good knowledge of finance can really help you not only make money, but invest and create wealth for yourself. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I would suggest somebody to join this.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Rinit. It was lovely having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.